Hello everyone, my name is Jeff Hoagland and welcome back to another Draft Today video, drafting 665 here. As we open this pack, if you've watched me draft before, you already know which card I am picking. I have never passed a Mystic Naturalist in my life, and I'm not about to start now. Mystic Naturalist I think is just one of the best uncommons in the set. It's a 2-4 that's evasive for 4, so the 4th toughness allows it to dodge a lot of removal in the format, and only having 2 points of power allows it to dodge things like Chastise. The fact that it is a diligence mechanic to give you a Mystic Bluebird every turn, which is a 2-2 with flight, means that it doesn't really care about things like shackling strands or the net in set 5. Other playable cards in this pack, Slicer and Butcher are reasonable. Reversion and Gallant Spearcliff are playable if you're already in Diamond, but they're definitely not a reason to move into Diamond. If the Naturalist wasn't in this pack and there was another kind of mediocre uncommon in here, I'd probably take the Butcher and start moving into Blood, but Mystic Naturalist is just one of the best bombs in the format, so we're 10 out of 10 picking that up on our first pick here. In this pack, we get past another really good Sapphire uncommon here. We've got Webborn Apostate, say 2-1 for 2, that each opposing champion loses a charge when this comes into play, and you gain a charge if they lost one that way. It's really the only close to playable Sapphire card in this pack. Mechanized Gem Scout's like okay in the Dreadling deck, and it's okay in Diamond Sapphire, but it's not a very powerful card. A lot of time I don't end up playing it, so taking this Webborn Apostate kind of sends the message that my opponent that I'm passing to shouldn't be in Sapphire. Other reasonable cards in this pack, I'm not a huge fan of Thornweaver. I think this card's pretty mediocre in the format in general. It's a 3-4 that makes some resources, but on the 4th turn, you really don't want a mediocre body that just lets you put 2 bodies out a lot of the time. Dread Transport's plenty playable. In the Dreadling archetypes, it's very reasonable uncommon. Iotachi Cavalry I think is one of the better Ruby uncommons in this set. There's not a lot of Valor in the format, so if you're in the Ruby Valor deck, this is essentially a 3-3 unblockable a lot of the time. Enlarge and Feral Root Tactics are playable combat tricks, but the rest of the pack's pretty mediocre other than those two. As we get past this pack, we look at the uncommons here, and we've got a Tale of Insight, and a Surgesmith Engineer, and a Deepwood Drac, and a Ruthless Cutthroat. Surgesmith Engineer is pretty reasonable in the Ruby Charges deck. It's also just a good Ruby card in general, just a 3-2 with speed for 3 a lot of the time, and the Diligence Gain a charge is not unreasonable. There's 2 Conscript Matters cards in this pack, but we're definitely not in a Conscript Matters deck, with our first 2 picks being Sapphire. That being said, I think we are taking a Conscript card out of this pack. Windborn Ascension, Conscript Underworld Troop of cost 3. Created card gets flight. The average 3-cost Underworld Troop is actually pretty reasonable, and there's a number of bombs in here, and the floor on it isn't particularly low, and giving it flight on top of that's pretty good. Blindsides, playable combat trick. Archaeo Glider sometimes playable. This also continues the trend of passing around mostly unplayable Sapphire cards here. Dread Deployment's okay in the Dreadling deck as well, so if someone got that Dread Transport, they might pick up that Dread Deployment there, and then we might be fighting with some Sapphire cards with them, but I think grabbing the Windborn Ascension is definitely the pick there. 10 out of 10 the pick we were looking for. In this pack, we could either move into a second Shard. I don't know if Diamond's Favor is worth moving into Diamond for, though. Excuse me. There's also just a second Windborn Ascension here, so maybe we just pick this up, honestly. I'm kind of a fan of this card. We usually don't have a lot to do on the first turn of the format in this game, so it gives you a 3-drop to play. That's sometimes a game-winning bomb, so... Arcane Soil is a card, if you're in the Sapphire Wild Dreadlings deck, it's a really good top end, but I don't think we want to move into that archetype off an Arcane Soil, especially when there's a plenty playable Sapphire card. This also continues sending the message, hey, you probably shouldn't be picking up Sapphire cards because you're likely not getting any good ones. Up next, one good Sapphire card. Okay, so this pack's actually got 2 good Sapphire cards in it. We've got a Web Scribe here, which is a 1/3 for 2 that says whenever you gain a charge, target opposing troop gets -2 power until the start of your next turn. And then we have a bomb here. This is a 3/5 with flight for 5 that readies at the start of each opposing champion's turn. These Windborn Ascensions and the Mystic Naturalist kind of all fall into the bomb category already, so I think I'm going to go ahead and pick up the Web Scribe here because it's the most consistent card in this pack. Vigilant Duskwing's also kind of hard to splash, and since we haven't passed any really powerful Sapphire cards, it's quite possible that whoever gets this doesn't really want to pick it up because it's double Sapphire, and it might even wheel to us. Other playable cards in this pack, there are good cards going around for the Diamond Wild Conscript deck. Best the Caretaker is one of them. Revision's a playable Diamond card. There's another Draka Outcast in this pack too, so Blitz is an okay Ruby card as well, but I'm definitely just picking up the Scribe. This pack's kind of going how I wanted to. I don't like to commit to a second shard in the first, I don't know, 10 picks or so ideally, so that way you can kind of wait until the second pack to kind of feel out for another bomb or so. This pack has no Sapphire cards in it, so I wonder if there must be someone else that's passing to us that's also taking Sapphire cards, but we've still ended up with plenty of playables here, so I'm not super worried about that. I think objectively the most powerful card in this pack is the quality removal here in the form of Chastise. It's also really the only good diamond card in here, and unless there were several other good diamond bombs in this pack, and if you look here, all the uncommons are still left here, it looks like. I believe there's only 4 uncommons per pack. I should know that. Chastise has already made it past, there's 12, so there are 5 picks, so 5 people passed this Chastise, and I think this is one of the better removal spells in the format in general, and it's definitely one of the best removal spells in Diamond. I think the only Diamond removal spell that's better than Chastise in this format is Decree of Justice, and that's an uncommon, so this is definitely the best piece of common Diamond removal, and we don't have any removal at all in our deck just yet. This pack, playable cards in this pack are Ayotachi Coins, Outflank, and Blitz. Outflank and Blitz are both just like reasonable combat tricks because they have Mobilize. I think because we already have the Chastise, I'm just going to go ahead and pick up the Outflank here. I love having 1 copy of this in your deck because it's good to get people with. And it's good at like pushing 2 extra points of damage as well. This pack doesn't have anything particularly impressive in it for us. There's nothing in this pack that I'm really particularly interested in cutting or speculating on in case we pivot into a second different shard. I'm going to go ahead and pick up the Amphibious Arachnid. It's a 2/4 for 3. It's just like reasonable stats, good at gumming up the ground. A lot of the times the Sapphire Diamond archetype, the ground gums up for you, and then you just kill them in the air with your flying threats. Reversion's actually a card that I like a lot. This is our original pack here again, and I'm happy to pick that up. I always main deck the first copy of Reversion in my Sapphire Diamond decks, and a lot of times, if I board a second and a third copy, I end up boarding them in at least once throughout the course of my draft games. Nothing too impressive in here. I don't think Ardent Courage is particularly good. I mentioned Mechanized Gem Scout is occasionally playable in Sapphire Diamond, so maybe I'll pick that up. I also wouldn't hate drafting this Enlarge since it gives us troops Skyguard. I'm gonna grab the Mechanized Gem Scout. I don't know the one that's playing. The Arachnid and the Gem Scout are cards that I'm going to hide for now because ideally we're going to have enough playables that we're not going to play those cards, but in case we don't, they're going to be in here the reserves. Same thing with Friar Tusk. This card I don't think is playable in your main deck, but there's enough Dreadlings in this format that, like, you board this on occasion, because this makes it so it basically blocks 3 Dreadlings, right? Because it has Life Drain, so it blocks 1, and then the Life Drain negates the attack from 2 others. Tale of Compassion is okay. I'm actually going to grab the Eldritch Shriek here, though, because it's a 2/1 for 2 that says your other Shrieks and Whispers have -2 cost. So if we get other Shrieks that go late, and then we pick up some Whispers in pack 3, we could be okay. Gallant Duelist and Apprentice Earthcaller are both, like, equally medium playable cards. I guess I'm going to grab the Apprentice Earthcaller here. Go ahead and grab the Rock Slider here. Rock Slider and a Reader. The Charges deck is just, like, super open. Nothing super exciting here. I'll take the Archaeo Glider just because it can block like our 1/1 Phantoms. You don't always play all your matches against people in your pod, but if you queue into your draft right away, you usually play against 1 or 2 of them, so it's always that, like, taking cards that you really don't want to play against is fine. And in our next pack here, we don't have any on-color rares or uncommons here. There are 4 uncommons per pack. I was right. Good. Sunspeaker, Wakuna, you know, legendary. That's like good stats and like awesome. God, I kind of wish we would have drafted the Conscript deck, right? That being said, the rest of this pack is actually pretty good for us. We've got 3 cards that I'm really interested in this pack. We have Shackling Strands, we have a Chastise, and there's a Wakuna Coins here. I think I'm going to go ahead and pick up the Shackling Strands here, because I'm pretty sure someone else on the table is in Sapphire, and we already have 1 Chastise. And hopefully there's only one other person in Diamond at the table, and they grab the Chastise and we get the coins, or they get the coins and we get the Chastise back, is ideally what's going to happen here. So hopefully, I would be really happy if we got Chastise or coins that came back around. I'm only taking the I think Shackling Strands and Chastise are pretty close to similar in power level. They're both common removal. This can deal with Diligence troops, and this can deal with things that aren't Diligence but have less power than defense. This pack. This is actually a card, Cloudbounder. This is the first one we've seen in this draft. A 3/3 for 5 with Mobilize and Flight. So if you have a 2-drop on 2, which we currently have 2 of, you can play this on turn 3 as just a 3 cost. So I'm going to go ahead and pick this up. This is one of the more powerful commons in Sapphire in this format. There's other cards in this pack that are on shard for us. We have Sweep Away here is okay. Royal Halberd. I really don't like this card in the Diamond decks in this format. A 3/3 for 4 isn't particularly good. It's an okay Diligence enabler because it has Mobilize, but there's a lot of X4s in this format, so this card just doesn't get to attack a lot of the time. So 10 out of 10 taking the Cloudbounder here. Up next. The Rift Spasm deck continues to be open as the Rift Spasm gets passed through. We are far too removed to be able to move into that at this point, though. Skyspire Scholar is one of my favorite pieces of card advantage in this format. It's a 0/6 for 3 that you could pay 6 to draw 2 cards. So, definitely going to pick that up. Blindside's a playable combat trick in our shards, but I think I'd rather prioritize getting another early troop and also card advantage in the Skyspire Scholar out of this pack. The Carver is a premium card in Blood if you can get it, and Rift Spasm is good in its own archetype, but if you heard me say it before, I've had some really good Rift Spasm decks in this format with Rock Sliders and Arena Regulars, but it's a high-risk archetype. You can just not get past the payoffs and end up getting screwed. This pack's got a lot going on in it. We have 3 really reasonable diamond cards. Gallant Spearcliff, 2/4 for 4 with Flight. That makes a Valor when it comes into play. Storm Rider, a 2/2 with Flight for 3 that could revert something. And then a Vanquish here, a 4-cost, or destroy target troop with power 4 or more. I think I'm actually going to take the Storm Rider here. I like the 2/2 with Flight, and the revert on it is pretty reasonable, especially when we already have 1 Skyspire Scholar here. Oh, geez, what just happened? You can now see part of my Twitter feed. Why? I'm really sorry. What is that? Why? Why is that there? I must have bumped something. We're going to remove that from the... I don't know why that is. I didn't have my eye on my preview, and then all of a sudden it was there. I'm sorry. I hope that didn't block any of my draft picks there. I feel a little bit bad. Glad there wasn't anything incriminating on my web browser. Anywho, in this pack, I think this is going to be the time where we take a blind side finally. I like playing one of these in my draft deck. We are kind of light on cheaper troops, so Wakuna Lookout honestly might be something that's okay to pick up. It's you could put the Minor Diamond of Protection in it, and then it'll be a 1/3 for 1. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that, just like makes their Cloudbounder better. It's so close. I'm going to take the blind side. Let's take the trick. This pack, I don't really like a second copy of Outflank. There's nothing in this pack that I'm super excited about. I think I'm actually going to grab the Orbiculon, since we passed on the cheaper troop last time. This will be our third troop that costs 2 or less, so we probably want somewhere between 4 and 6 of those all together, so this card's okay. Diligences gets +3/+3 until our next turn. This pack's kind of mediocre for us. Battle Scrivener's like an okay. It's a 1/4 for 3 that diligences gain 3 life. Adamantine Cavalry is like a mediocre bomb. It's a 3/3 flyer for 5 that requires double diamond when it's Valorous. It gets Swift Strike. There's nothing else in this pack that's particularly impressive for us. I guess I'm going to grab the Cavalry, but ideally we're going to have enough playables. This isn't going to end up in our deck, I think. This pack's okay. I actually don't mind playing a Staunch Resolve a lot of time. It's like a fine one of. It gives target troop +2/+2 permanently and gains all socketed powers of this. So you can put the Flight on attack gem in this and like upgrade one of our 2-drops to a real threat. It's actually pretty insane with the Orbiculon, right? Because you can just start jumping it and then it becomes a 6/6 flyer. Hey, the Chastites did not come back around, but the Wakuna coins did. Really happy to add a coin to this deck. It looks like we're only going to have 1 coin in this draft, so hopefully people are starting to prioritize those a little bit higher. Coins are very, very good in both limited and constructed, especially in this limited format where you often end up with too many playable cards in your decks on average. Like, being able to upgrade a standard shard to a coin is a huge game. We've got like 16-ish playables here. Like I said, I'd be kind of happy if we get enough other bombs at the top end that we can cut this cavalry. So we only need like 6 to 7 playables out of this deck's pack to have a really pretty reasonable deck. We want to prioritize primarily 2-drops and 1-drops that are playable, I think. This deck didn't end up picking up any Cerulean Sages, which kind of sucks. That's the 0/3 with Diligence gains +2 power, but the rest of the deck's okay on average, I think. I'll grab another Friar Tusk, I guess. I don't know if I'd board in 2 against Dreadlings, but maybe. Nothing too particularly exciting in this pack. I guess I'll grab an extra Arachnid. I already have one of those. I'm going to cut the Shadow Blade Slicer. It's the most playable card in this pack, I think. Vanquish came back around. 10 out of 10 playing the Vanquish. Really happy with that wheel. It's a third piece of removal for us. This is kind of an awkward removal spell at times because it doesn't always hit everything you care about because it only destroys 4 power or more. But a lot of times it has the upside of giving you a Valor as well. Hey, Wakuna Lookout. I'm going to hide this Cavalry for now. Fail Root Tactics, most playable card in the pack. Not going to need a second Spider. Talent Keep Watcher, that's an okay pickup. If we end up short on 2 drops after this last pack, we might play this. It's a 3-2 that's flight and defensive because we don't have any other Watchers, and Hunter's not particularly good if you don't have a lot of Watchers. Usually I like 3 Watchers before I pick up Hunters. Bombs? 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 Ready for War is not... It's not a very playable card. Exhaust each troop you control. Troops you control get +1/+1 for each troop you control that gets exhausted this way. Hey... There's actually 2 really good cards in our shards in this pack. We have a Bring to Justice here, which I think this is pretty reasonable removal in this format. This format's not very Valor focused like 555 was, so Bring to Justice is generally great. Winter Brave's also a reasonable card. She can put the Flight on attack gem in it. I'm going to go ahead and grab the Bring to Justice here. Wow, this pack's insane for us. There's a Lamify here that we would love to wheel, but 10 out of 10 taking this Elder of the Lost Ages. 4-2 with Flight, 1 shot, Deathcry, put this back into play. Just like, yep, it's gonna snake that right on up there, I think. Very, that's a bombiest of bombs. We're up to like 19 playables here, so we only need 3 more in this pack. We're a little bit short on draw power this deck, so I'd love an Astral Sight. One of those came around. Yeah, I guess I'm 10 out of 10 going to take another Bring to Justice here. I can see the Shock Duster or the Strider Scout being okay, but we have an okay amount of stuff that's cheaper. And we only have 1 Cloudbounder, so like prioritizing 1s and 2s isn't super huge right now. There's the Astral State we asked for. 6 costs, draw 3, gain 3 charges. 10 out of 10. Picking that up here. Wouldn't mind if like the Sapper's Wallbuster or the Winter Brave wheeled, but Astral State is exactly what this deck was missing. When the pick is easy and it's still early, it's just like there's so much time to kill. It's like what are we doing with ourselves? Oh, this is everything I want and so much more. It's an early pressure and it's evasive flying threat. It's just a 2/2 flight. It only costs 1, but it requires a diamond and sapphire threshold, so you can't play this till the second turn, but that's fine. Guppy Gloves is like okay. I think we have enough quality removal in our deck that we wouldn't play a Guppy Gloves anyways. I would kind of like if Leyline Purifier came back around. It's a 1/3 for 2 that can destroy a constant. But Cloud Runner is 10 out of 10 the pick here. Jet Cadet is also a card that's everything we're looking for. It's another early flight and evasive troop, so 10 out of 10 picking that up. That also means we get to demote this Wakuna Lookout back to the reserves here. I want to play 18 resources in this deck. That's kind of my stock. If we get another Cloud Runner or Jet Cadet, we'll probably cut this Orbiculon to the reserves. But other than that, seems fine. Next, I'm not really a fan of Duskwing Priest. Maybe it's marginally better than Orbiculon, but Orbiculon can like hit like a truck if they don't have anything else going on. How many actual pieces of removal do we have? We've got Shackling, Chastise, 2 Brings, and a Vanquish. I'm trying to decide if the Sapper's Wallbuster is worth our time. I feel like I'm probably not going to play that card. I think I'm actually just going to cut in this pack. Usually if you're building a Ruby deck, you want to rely on getting good Ruby cards in the last pack here, so I'm just going to cut this Fire in the hole. I think it's like objectively the best card here. Ardent Officer is probably more powerful on a raw power level, but the chances that someone's in Diamond Ruby already is pretty low. So this is more likely to end up in someone's deck than the Ardent Officer, I think. This pack doesn't have anything particularly exciting in it. The Shock Duster is fine. It actually might be better than the Orbiculon, honestly. This is like a playable trick. Yeah, I'm going to grab the Shock Duster and actually demote the Orbi here. Dawn Scout's actually particularly good and probably better than the Shock Duster. It's a 2/2 for 2 that can't be blocked by Underworld troops, and there's quite a bit of reasonable Underworld troops in this format, so I think I'm going to go ahead and pick that up. And then, as far as thresholds are concerned, I think we're just going to be split straight down the middle of this deck. And honestly, I think this is the most powerful archetype in this limited format, but the worst thing about it is that the thresholds are kind of tough. We have double Diamond and Mystic Naturalist, and we need we have double Sapphire, sorry, Mystic Naturalist, and even triple Sapphire and Astral Sight, but we need double Diamond by 5 to activate Ada on time. And that's another reason to play 18 resources, honestly, because then you get to play 9 of each. So I'm going to go ahead and grab Crackling Blast here, probably. Alright, this pack, we could go ahead and grab another Shock Duster here, I think. And then, unfortunately, I'm going to have to cut this draft video a little bit short here. We're just going to fill in 8 Diamond Shards, 9 Sapphire Shards, and then pretty much just play these cards right here along with 8 as a champion. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out. As always, remember, you can support my content by liking the video and sharing it on social media if you enjoyed it, and also supporting our sponsor, Hex Primal, with the code Jeff5. I'll catch you all tomorrow. I'll be back with another draft a day.